Am I online? Good. Can we turn to the passage that we're going to be looking at today? 1 Corinthians. Chapter 9. Corinthians chapter 9, and we're going to be looking from verse 24. When you found it, shout hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Are there any oh dears? Well, we're all hallelujahs. Right, let's say our prayer together. We're turning to God's passage. We offer up this prayer every time. I hold God's word in my hands. It encourages, corrects, and instructs me. Lord, speak to me now. Amen. Speak to us now. The title of the message, we have a title because that's what I want the focus to be. It's Celebrating Failure and Surviving Success. Because sometimes, as we saw from that video clip, it's very amusing but relevant. Things don't always turn out as we planned. Not as the eagle planned, not as the meerkats planned. Sometimes life just happens to us. But we'll investigate that as we go through. Reading from verse 24 of chapter 9, we'll go just those few short verses to the end of the chapter. The need for self-discipline. Do you not know that in a race all runners run, but only one gets the prize? Run in such a way as to get the prize. Everyone who competes in the games goes into strict training. They do it to get a crown that will not last. But we do it to get a crown that will last forever. Therefore, I do not run like someone running aimlessly. I do not fight like a boxer beating the air. No, I strike a blow to my body and make it my slave, so that after I have preached to others, I myself may not be disqualified for the prize. Paul wrote this letter to the church at Corinth. Now this was a thriving young church at one time. When the church is first founded, it's full of people who are full of vigour, full of ideas, keen to explore what the church's mission is. They want to do everything properly. But the years had passed and things began to go sadly wrong. There became so many problems that Paul felt he had to write, to do just as we prayed, to encourage them, to correct them and instruct them, to draw their attention back to what that church's mission was. And to do that, he used the reference to the games. Now this was relevant because he wanted the church to get fit for purpose again, and he considered that they were out of condition. Paul was very clever because he was using local culture. He referred to the games, the games. Now every 2 years in ancient Corinth, they held a big religious and athletic festival every 2 years. It was all to do with the conquering of the human body, about human achievement, what the body could achieve. It was an athletic contest. And this was very serious stuff. People would have known what he was talking about, the seriousness of what's involved. Not everybody, not just anybody could enter. You had to provide proof that you'd been training all year to be able to qualify to enter these games. And having done that, you then had to attend a compulsory 1-month-long training camp. This was serious business. And then when the games came, a herald would announce who the competitor was. Perhaps a bit about his family history. Certainly mentioned the town where he came from. And the winner, when it came to that stage at the end of the games, was crowned with a garland of leaves. And the whole of his family, the whole winner's family, was honoured. They shared in his reflected glory. Serious stuff, this. And when the winner returned to his own city, amazingly, they they breached the city wall. You know the city wall's there to protect from invasion or protect the city from harm. They would knock a hole in that wall to allow the triumphal procession to go through. Now this was symbolic that where this hero lived needed no other protection. This was a man, this was a champion, this was a hero. So entry into these games was very serious. Oh yes, I've got a note here. Poems and songs were written by the hero. He was feted. They were made up ballads about him. Can you imagine? Seats were reserved for him and his family at future events. So qualifying, just getting into the games was quite an achievement. But winning, this brought fame and glory. This was big league, big stuff. But winning doesn't come without effort. It doesn't come easily. And Paul begins to make an allusion of what's required in the church. It requires great effort. On the way up, you survive all kinds of qualifying procedures. And you lose more often than you win. This is just as you get to beat your personal best, as you come into contact with better competition. People press you and you strive. You strive to overcome the obstacles, your fitness. And you obviously go through many failures, many lost races, before you can celebrate success. And that's our normal way of thinking about things, isn't it? That failure is bad, it's a bad thing. It's just something that we have to endure on our way through. And that the winning means that we've arrived, we've won. Time to celebrate. But success has its price. It can bring as many pressures as failure, as losing. Paul chose an athletic theme to continue our sporting theme. One of our most popular sports is football. Now teams train during the year, they play matches through the year, they go through the qualifying rounds until they reach the final. Now there's a select number of teams that are regarded as being among the best, but there is only one winner of the cup final. So already among this elite groups of teams who are among the best in the country, ultimately because there's one winner, all the rest are losers. They've failed, they've lost. By definition, they're amongst the best, but they've lost. Then come the post-mortems. How can we do better? What went wrong? Where can we make improvements? Restructuring, replanning, motivation. That's what the losers do. But the winners find they have a different set of problems. The players and the coaches suddenly find that they're in great demand for their skills. Everyone's ego gets inflated. The defence team congratulate themselves on what a wonderful job they've done. The strikers say, we scored the winning goals. There's a man down at the other end of the pitch saying, don't forget me, I'm the one that stopped the ball hitting the back of the net. They've all got their part to play. The managers say, it's a matter of strategy. The coaches say, we've honed people's skills. And they're all in demand. They've all fated for winning. And it gets to the stage where they say, look at me. I'm so good. I'm so good. It's hard to be humble when you're the best. Now I say that in all sincerity, because these people have worked hard, they've trained hard, they've played their socks off, they've won. They deserve their moment of glory. And let's face it, there are plenty of motivational self-help books that say, enjoy your success. Recognize who you are, what you've done, how you've got there. And that's fine. We need that recognition for effort put in. Be proud of who you are, in moderation. But they now have to come to that point to see if they're good enough to get back in the race for next year. They've won, they've arrived, but now the battle starts all over again. Team unity has to be maintained. The management are debating the issue. Who's going to be selected for the next match, for the next season? Who's good enough? Who contributed the most during the match? Who showed the most consistency during the last season? Who's getting more credit than they deserve? Who's the weakest link? Do you remember that phrase? So there are many disruptive forces in play, even in a winning team, even for the winners. They've not got there yet. They've not got to the end. More battles lie in front of them than lie behind them. And it can create resentment, loss of cohesion, loss of team spirit. Success can come at a price. And it's not only in sport, is it? In many other areas. In life, in general. Success or failure, both can have a profound effect. Now, Rudyard Kipling wrote a poem. Do you know If? Are you familiar with that? Generally, it's an encouragement, a challenge to live life to its fullest. Some part of it encourages you to take risky chances, but there's two particular lines that say, if you can meet with triumph on the one hand, and disaster on the other hand, and if you can treat those two things just the same. And it actually says, let me read the lines, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those impostors just the same. Triumph and disaster, they're both out to mislead you. Success can mislead, failure can mislead. I'm sure that there must have been successes in your life. You look that sort of people. Now, are you going to admit to failures in your life? Or let's put it another way, disappointments. You must have had them, because that's what life does to you. Triumph and disaster. We've all had our disappointments, but it wasn't fatal, was it? It wasn't the end. You're all still here this morning. Hallelujah. Triumph and disaster, they're not final. They are impostors. Rudyard Kipling recognized a scriptural truth. And we often find that we have echoes of scripture in the arts, in the world. Poets write about it, people write songs about it. They realise what is in essence a scriptural truth. Don't be fooled by the fact that you've had a disaster, a failure. You're not a loser. Don't let your head be turned by too much notice of when you do things right. They're impostors. Now, Paul has some good advice for us. Now, we don't always take advice well, do we? Sometimes that's because of the way it's presented. If you take my advice, what I do is this. Oh no, he's off again. He thinks he knows my circumstances. Nobody knows my problems better than I do. We don't always take advice too well. But Paul is worth listening to. He had failures and he had successes. But Paul really understood human nature. He understood people's need for reassurance. He cared for people, which is the whole point why he's writing this letter, not only to the Corinthians. He must have realised that he was being put down in writing. It had echoes that would last throughout the centuries, throughout the years. So he's worth listening to. He's had failures and successes, and he survived both. He's a great achiever. He wrote many parts of the New Testament. He took the gospel to lots of different countries. He founded churches. He trained leaders. He gave to the poor. He did so many positive things, and he did them successfully. Now, Paul too was qualified. He might have been justified in saying, look at me, I'm so good. But he was more level-headed than that. And for Paul, it was not all plain sailing. Pardon the pun. The first thing we look at that was not plain sailing was the fact that he was shipwrecked. He was stranded. At various times during his life, he was beaten. He was imprisoned. He suffered severe discomfort. His withdrawal of basic human rights. He was cold, hungry. He was ill. And towards the end, he was deserted by the very people who might have encouraged him and helped him. Very Christ-like. He knew what it was like to lose, for plans not to turn out right. He knew success and failure. He knew that his life, our lives, have both elements. And he still managed to keep a balanced point of view. In another letter that Paul wrote to Timothy, he said, I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. Now there is in store for me the crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will award to me on that day. And not only to me, but also to all who have longed for his appearing, all who trust in the Lord. That's amazing. Paul is claiming that which he believes he's qualified for, his personal crown. But he takes it one stage further. Not just me, he's saying, but you. You can do what I did. How to get where Paul is. How to learn to celebrate failure and survive success. Don't take too much notice of either. That's what he's saying. It doesn't define who you are. You're not a loser. You have achievements. You have winnings. You're not the ultimate winner either. Keep a check on what you're thinking, where you're going. There was a famous basketball coach a number of years ago, John Wooden, going back to the 60s and the 70s, I think it was. The relevance is, he came up with a very profound quote: success is never final. Failure is never fatal. It's courage that counts. Again, a secular quotation. Doesn't make reference to God, but it's echoing what Paul is saying. It's a scriptural truth. Success is never final. Failure is never fatal. Be brave. Be courageous. In these few short verses, Paul gives us ways to help us win or lose, to enable us to deal with disappointment of defeat, and to keep from being over-impressed by our own cleverness. 3 steps. This is common practice, isn't it? I think I'm being affected. 3 points to my sermon. Verse 24 says, do you not know that in a race all the runners run, but only one gets the prize? Run in such a way as to get that prize. Point 1, give it your best shot. Coaches and trainers ask for commitment. Commitment. What does that mean? Not just a short, sporadic sprint. They ask for your best effort, speed, skill, intensity, right up to the final whistle. Application, determination. Give it your best shot. And what better philosophy to bring to your job, your relationship, to your life, the many parts of your life. Don't just play at it, do it wholeheartedly. Do your best at work, at home, in church. Are you living full on? Sometimes we think that the effort put in is not worth it. Do your best. There was a book I read some time ago. There was a gentleman called Demos Shakarian. You may not have heard him. He was the founder of the Full Gospel Christian Businessmen's Association. I bet they had large writing, large letterhead. But, in his early days, I read about one evangelistic meeting that he arranged. He had a team. They'd hired the hall. They'd made arrangements. Publicity had gone out. They'd got the sound system all set up. He was there early in time. He had his support team around him. They waited for people to flock in the door and hear what he had to say, a message of motivation and encouragement. An hour after opening time, the hall was empty. There was one man sitting at the back. He was the one that had got the chair out. Demos Shakarian had a decision to make. He went ahead and gave his full presentation, however long it took, about God, about his relevance to your life today, about how you need that support, how God gives your life meaning and direction. At the end of it, he barely finished speaking and turning the last page over. That man stood up, came forward, and he was saved. One man. We make that profession that if it was only for one of us, Jesus would have gone to the cross and died. If we really believed that, we would do as Demos Shikarian did. And for one man, there may be few of us, we may be a small church, but if one person comes through that door, we've got to be ready to do our best to go the full distance of the match and to tell them about God, about his love. John 3:16, for God so loved that single person, that whoever believes in him may have eternal life. You must always give your best. Always give 100%, just like Demos Shikarian. Numbers don't come into it. Full intensity, full skill, full speed, till the end, to the last whistle. And then I made a vague reference about giving 100%. There's some people facetiously say, I give 100%, 20% Monday, 20% Tuesday. By the time I get to Friday, I've given 100%. That's slightly cynical. We're better than that. God knows we're better than that. He's given us a chance to prove that we are better than that. Step 1, give it your best shot. Step 2, get yourself ready. Verse 26. Therefore, I do not run like someone running aimlessly. I do not fight like a boxer beating the air. Again, vivid imagery. It's pointless a boxer standing there flapping his hands. He's got to keep his guard up and be ready to defend as well as attack. It's a vivid image. Get yourself ready. Therefore, I do not run like someone running aimlessly. I do not fight aimlessly, ineffectively. Choose any sport you like, whatever your preference. And the coaches in that sport, the trainers in that discipline will tell you the same thing. The game is won by the preparation that's gone on beforehand. Think about it. All the things are going to be addressed and become a regular habit. To do with your diet, your level of fitness, the practice of your skills, mental attitude. This is developed over a period of time. It doesn't just happen on the day. But having put all that work in, it doesn't guarantee a result. I keep repeating that. But you stand no chance at all unless you've done the homework. You need to make preparation. We need to make preparations for all the things that we consider important in our own lives. Is your marriage important? How can you prepare to be a better husband, a wife? And you might say, but I'm already married. What's to prepare? Well, I will just say that there's a guy called Eden Hazard who's already plays for Chelsea. He's one of the top-ranking players in the Premier League, and he captains his national team of Brazil. But he, even Eden Hazard, still needs to turn up for training sessions. Husbands, wives, find out what's needed for a strong relationship. Now, about this time, Kathy will be having her own little thoughts there. Can you imagine the conversation after lunch? What you were saying this morning, Keith? Different viewpoints. It came to me that I might think I'm perfect, or pretty close to it anyway. And the word that's come into Kathy's mind is imperfect. Spelled the same way, punctuated differently. But I'm up here to tell you, I'm speaking the message not because I've got my act together, not because I'm perfect, not because I know any better than you, not because I do any better than you. Kathy will tell you that. You might need to speak to her after the session as well. So I share my weaknesses. But we need to find out and devote time to our relationships. And we have the additional ability of being able to pray. Let's not leave that part of the preparation on one side. Any preparation needs to include prayer for guidance. Take time to notice what your husband, your wife, your partner, what they like, what they want, what their needs are. And it's the same with those who serve at the church. And I guess that's all of us. We all subscribe to the idea of a priesthood of all believers, don't we? A royal priesthood. We come to the weekly service because we're serving God. Each one of us needs to come prepared, having studied, having prayed, ready to contribute. Sometimes we don't get the results that we want, we know that. And we've already heard a lot. I'm here not to berate you. I think as a church we're very successful. We've been speaking about that this morning. We're a welcoming church. We're a caring church. We're a church that encourages each other. We're a church that give. We give to each other. Just like the passage that Dave read out of Acts. We have many things in common. We share them with each other. We share them with people who have a need. We're great. But don't let it go to our head. Don't be fooled by that imposter success. We are successful. Our weekend away on this course have told Alison, Dave and myself, Alison, Ali, about how good we are. It's easy to think that we're a small church, that we're inconsequential, that we don't matter, that we're not doing things well enough, otherwise we'd be bigger. What we do superbly because of many reasons, because you are the church. But remember, success has to be survived as well. Point 3, verses 26 to 27. I strike a blow to my body and make it my slave, so after I have preached to others, I myself will not be disqualified for the prize. Self-control, self-discipline. The procedure of doing without, even when you don't have to. And there is a connection between physical discipline and spiritual obedience. Paul wisely recognises this and wants to point it out so that we too realise it. There is a book that was brought to my attention, written by Roy Baumeister, a psychologist. The point is, there was an experiment carried out with a number of students. They were doing a very simple thing, trying to improve their posture. We all know, we've all heard this in our childhood. Stand up straight, be proud, put your shoulders back, stuck your stomach in. You know, conduct yourself with better deportment. But strangely enough, there were some funny results from this. Just a simple exercise about posture. They found that these students were eating better, they were studying harder, they were sleeping more, they were better able to cope with life just by doing a small procedure. Small improvements lead to big improvements. So that when you set out to get up earlier, to exercise more, when you miss the occasional meal, you develop in other ways. You develop spiritually as well as physically. Now I think we all recognise that we have a tendency in the Western world to take an easier option. We live a soft life generally, and we have a tendency to be self-indulgent. Some people might find a job that allows you to coast along on minimum commitment. And it's nice when we get those opportunities to sit on the settee and eat our popcorn. TV snacking. But when that happens, the reverse of this psychological experiment with the students, instead of our performance increasing, instead of our awareness growing, we become fat and lazy, don't we? That's the tendency. We know that muscles that aren't used, that brains that aren't used, get flabby. Success can tempt us to ease up. We convince ourselves, you've earned it, you've worked hard enough, take a break. And on the other hand, we say, well, I've been slaving away over this project. Nobody appreciates what I've been doing. Nobody appreciates the hours I've been working. Why bother? I'm not going to try so hard. We're back to Rudyard Kipling's imposters, success and disaster. Imposters. Success and failure both tempt us to stop trying so hard. And when an athlete stops trying, they stop winning. And it's the same for a believer. That's why Paul said he didn't want to be disqualified. Now let's be clear here. Paul's not saying that he's in danger of losing his salvation. Neither are we. That's assured for those who come to Jesus and recognize him as a Saviour. That's not what Paul's saying. He doesn't want to be disqualified from getting his crown of righteousness. So Paul is striving to bear in mind the 3 steps. The 3 steps: give it your best shot, prepare to win, develop self-discipline. And I was thinking, it's only the other week we had the London Marathon. Now, the real heroes there are not the professionals that do the 2 hours or 3 hours completion of the distance. But look at all the people who take part of all different physical conditions. But they may be less able. They're not all trained athletes, but I guarantee that everyone went there prepared to complete the course. That was winning. They gave it their maximum intensity, right to the final whistle. They went prepared to win. They gave it their best shot because they developed self-discipline and had a positive mental attitude. Well, it's my wish to see this church. We were talking about vision on our course. It's my wish, it's my vision to see this church grow in every way. Numerically, yes, it would be nice to see more seats being filled. And I think we've got so much right, but I think we have there's always more with God. We can get better, we can develop our relationships. We can be better at giving, we can be more giving, we can be more forgiving. We can grow in ways that God has in mind that we might struggle to think about. That's my vision, to see this church grow. And at church meetings in the future, we'll discuss ways and means, we'll discuss services, back to church Sundays, to invite people to. We'll have days away together, we'll encourage each other to grow. We'll make this a place where God's word is preached. We'll discuss ways and means, procedures. And it may be that our carefully thought out plans won't always work out as we would have wished. But let's make sure together it wasn't because we didn't try. And together we'll learn to celebrate and survive and build the ultimate prize, which is the everlasting crown. Amen? Amen. Amen, indeed. Let's pray. Lord, when we consider how we're blessed, we have a Saviour. That shows us we have a God who cares. We have a God that went the extra mile. We have a God that cared enough to prepare us. A God that gave us everything. We are blessed indeed. And because you gave so much, you gave us your all. You gave us your Son. You gave us eternal life. You gave us forgiveness and salvation. We too want to give to you. Sometimes we're slow to catch on. We thank you that you're patient with us. We thank you that you see into our hearts and you see the intention. That sometimes we do fail. Sometimes it may be necessary for our schemes not to work out. Sometimes it's necessary for us to go through that experience. We submit ourselves to your will, if that's what it needs. But our desire is to serve you, not give up. We want to go the whole full distance. Help us. Give us the energy. Give us the motivation. Give us the desire. So that every week, not only we, but we can lift your name on high and praise you and thank you. So we can spread the news. That other people might be given what we've got. Hope and eternal life.